Let's bring in Ken Starr. Ken, you know, it occurred to me just watching Adam Schiff and listening to his closing comments, something that President Trump has said about this whole endeavor, which was that he always felt that it was just sort of backlash because he had such a surprise win. You know, so all the circumstances that we heard about today, all of this that happened during the campaign still would have happened if Hillary Clinton had won. And would we be digging into this investigation in the same way if Hillary Clinton were president and Donald Trump had lost?
No, the entire set of issues would have gone away, and I thought it was very intriguing that the tone of this afternoon's hearing turned to almost ethics, morality, and the like, as opposed to there were crimes committed. So I think there was a clear movement away from the dynamic toward impeachment. I agree with Saul that obviously we have to see what the people's reaction is, but how can the people be rising up in righteous indignation and say the president must step down in light of what we've heard today? I think that no one in his or her right mind will be claiming that. And I will say this. One of the most revealing things about this afternoon's hearing, and it was remarkable to hear Bob Mueller reply to the issue of why did you not insist on interviewing the president? Saul Weisenberg is famous for having interviewed President Clinton, but he was interviewed only as a result of this kind of process that Bob Mueller described. And it was a bit surprising to me that those who are hostile to the president didn't show a little bit more, shall I say, energy in their saying, you really didn't do your job. There were some unanswered questions and so forth, but you wouldn't press the envelope, and the only response was the balance of it would take too much time. And when you think about that, that's a fairly, at one level it's admirable, but at another level, the prosecutorial angle, it's quite weak. Why would you not press to the very end to say, we've got to have your testimony because this really is about you? And that's one, I think, of the huge takeaways that Bob Mueller saw fit not to press it, and yet at the same time to issue this very questionable, as we've discussed earlier, observation about we're not exonerating him. And perhaps that's his payback to the president.
As independent counsel, you move forward, as we mentioned earlier, about articles of impeachment on President Clinton. There is not that recommendation in this report. In fact, Bob Mueller, during the hearings, would not talk about that possibility. Yet Democrats, a lot of them point to this as this roadmap. Where do you think that stands today as opposed to yesterday?
Just about where we were. I certainly don't think, as I think a number of us have said, that the ball for those who favor impeachment, and doggone it, may their plot fails. Because one of the things that Adam Schiff said that is so relevant is we're 80 days from the first votes in a presidential election year. So allow this process to work. And I think it's one of the reasons that the politics of impeachment just aren't working out, even with the president's unfavorables being higher than he would like going into a re-elect year. Nonetheless, the sentiment in favor of impeaching him for his ethics, and that's really what we heard today, wasn't it, this afternoon? The ethics, the morality, the greed, and these other kinds of considerations don't justify even launching an impeachment inquiry. We were not hearing about there is definite proof of crime as there was during the Clinton investigation.